White Nights is not fun.
Welcome to the Too Old or Pure Gold movie podcast. In today's episode, we're discussing the 1985 dance action film White Nights. And already I have a question, which is this the only movie in this genre? Should there be more?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Did you just say dance action?
Dance action.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
listed, when you look up the movie, it's listed as a thriller/war movie.
Okay, well, I'm calling it dance action. But let me introduce the cast before we tackle these challenging questions. The format of our podcast, two Gen Xers rewatch beloved movies from our youth to find out, are they really as good as we remember? To help us debate and ultimately pass judgment, we ask our millennial co-hosts to watch these movies for the first time and help us determine, are they too old or pure gold? I'm your host, Olen Vanderleeden, representing Gen X. Joining me today is my Gen X co-host and ballet aficionado, Matthew Stockton.
Hello.
Representing the millennials, we have comedian Will Corry.
Hey, hey.
And representing Gen Z, we have Nicole.
Hello.
And before we get into this episode, just a reminder that the only way we can grow this podcast is with support from our listeners. So please remember to like, subscribe, comment, follow us on social media, and recommend us to a friend.
Or to all your friends.
Or to people you don't like.
Yeah? Maybe they'll like you more after that.
Recommend it to your enemies.
Today's movie is the 1985 dance action film White Nights, starring Mikhail Baryshnikov and Gregory Hines. Also an early appearance by Helen Mirren. The movie is directed by Taylor Hackford, and I'd say Taylor earned the right to do this film because he also directed movies like An Officer and a Gentleman and Against All Odds. Both great films. The tagline from this movie poster is, "A whole new motion picture experience is on the horizon."
What?
They were not wrong. They were not wrong. IMDb describes this movie as a Russian-American ballet dancer's plane is forced to land in the USSR, where he's repatriated. He stays with an American man married to a Russian. Will the American help him flee the USSR? And for those of you that have not seen the movie, I asked my 93-year-old dad to watch White Nights and summarize the plot.
Well, the movie starts with a very impressive ballet performance, and they did a famous piece at that time. And it was done by a famous dancer, Nicole Rodchenko, who is basically a defector from the Soviet Union. Now, Nikolai is flying over Siberia. He's traveling towards Japan for a major performance. And all of a sudden, the plane is forced into a crash landing in Siberia. And there is a Colonel Chaiko, and he recognizes Nikolai. And he says, "Okay, buddy, you have to come with me." And he says, "If you could do another performance for us in the Kirov Theater," this famous old theater in Leningrad at the time. Well, he finds somebody else to be a companion, and his name is Raymond. Raymond is recruited by Chaiko to keep Nikolai company and to train him for the opening performance. Raymond is also a dancer, except he's a tap dancer. Okay, so some tension developed between the two dancers, but eventually they become good friends. And they start practicing together, which is sort of comical to see. You see tap dancing and classic dancing. You wouldn't think they would go together, but it sort of worked there. So Raymond is also a defector. He is an American who defected the United States. So the two guys decide together that they want to escape. They're crawling across from one building to another on a rope that they have put together. And anyway, they make it, but Raymond is not doing it, and so he goes to get the colonel, and he delays him, and so he manages to get out. And that is basically the end of the story.
Long like the movie.
Wow.
The only thing I will tell you about that is that my dad loved this movie, and he called it the best movie out of the 40 we've done so far.
No, he did not.
Yes, he did.
He did not.
And I perhaps agree with him.
Matthew,
Dear God.
I picked this one for you. You're kind enough to indulge me in some of my favorite movies, so I know you like this one, and I put it on for you. Can you tell us what you think of this movie before we go to Will? Because I can't imagine what Will thinks of it.
So anyone who doesn't like this movie doesn't know art or history. I'll start with that.
God, Matthew, I love you, but you're ridiculous.
I love you too, and I love being ridiculous. Okay, I first watched this in the movies, and I enjoyed it. I watched it again, and I adored it. And Justin watched it with me, and he's like, "Why did you never tell me about this movie? This is such a good film." So I love this movie because, I think it speaks directly, actually. It's really relevant in some ways. Where we are right now in the world with racism, authoritarianism, and the meaning of freedom, I think it's really important. I think, beyond the action and the dancing, I think it's a critique of the Soviet Union, Russia, and the United States, like how the U.S. treats war and black people, right? And how the Soviet Union and authoritarian regimes treat artists. And just before anyone else comments about this movie, let me give you a little bit of a history lesson and an art lesson, okay? In this movie, you have Mikhail Baryshnikov, who was the world's premier ballet dancer at the time. You have
He's a real guy?
Yeah.
He played, this is a real true story?
Sort of. I'll give you the facts behind it later.
Okay, sorry.
Let me do some of the facts because I adore ballet. Okay, so the theater they're supposedly dancing, and I've been to in Russia. It's now called the Mariinsky Theater. So I've actually seen ballet performances there. So Mikhail Baryshnikov, the guy who plays the Russian dancer, was the world's best ballet dancer at the time. Gregory Hines is the world's best tap dancer at the time. The dances are choreographed by Twyla Tharp, who is a contemporary choreographer, considered the best, that really brought ballet into sort of a modern era. So here's the story of Mikhail Baryshnikov. He defected from the Soviet Union here in Canada in 1974. He is performing at the O'Keefe Centre, which is now the Meridian Hall, as part of a cultural exchange. After the performance, he slipped out a back door with the help of Canadian friends and ballet enthusiasts that put him into hiding for 3 days, and he claimed asylum. Then he moved to America.
Matthew, can I just add to that? That what's interesting is he actually had KGB agents watching him to make sure he didn't do that, and he had to duck them.
No, absolutely. He had to hide for 3 days because the KGB follows them, right? So
This
he
happened
became
in Canada?
Yes.
in Canada,
Wow,
and then he eventually became a U.S. citizen. And he stated that he defected not because of politics, but for art. He wanted to be able to dance what he wanted to dance. So with all of this, and then you have like Helen Mirren, you have Isabella Rossellini, you have these two great dancers, you have Twyla Tharp choreographing. To me, this movie is just incredible, right? So this is why I love it.
Okay, well, I actually saw this movie in the theater, and I'm telling you, I was trying to get back in the head of 14-year-old me and try to figure out what made me look at this movie poster and say, I'm going to get on the bus, spend $5, and spend 2.5 hours and watch this movie. I did not enjoy this. It was way too long and way too slow, so I'm in the camp of those people that didn't really get this, Matthew. And what I've decided now, if I'm being honest about my taste in movies, Russia's too bleak. The way it's depicted in movies in the 80s, it's just,
That's what
depressing.
Russia looked like. That's what it looked like, yeah.
I've decided that tap dancing's stupid. And
Well, I love tap dancing. I hated his tap
Wow.
dancing.
Wow.
and
Here we go.
I think I would rather watch Bachelor Party.
Oh my God. Well, that doesn't surprise me because it doesn't
I just
surprise
have
me
to
only because
say-
you have terrible taste in movies.
So, okay, I've been saying this a lot lately. It's so ironic that the two people hosting a movie podcast are the two people with the worst movie taste I've ever met. It's like you're competing for worst movie taste every week.
This is awesome. This is great.
But I think
Comes out.
I think I could have liked this movie if the first hour had been 10 minutes. If the first hour had been 10 minutes, then maybe it could have been good, because I liked the second half. I didn't love the second half, but I liked the second half, and I loved parts of it. So if the first hour had been 10 minutes, it could have been good, but the first hour, I was like, please, somebody just kill me. Like, I actually said while watching the first hour, I think I'd rather be watching Porky's. Like, it was so boring.
Let me jump in here. I wrote down in my notes here that the tension dips in the middle, and it'll probably lose.
That's a generous way of saying that.
And I said it'll probably lose.
Tension dips.
And I wrote here it will probably lose the younger audience who have an inability and an attention span to pay attention to a movie and not look at their phones.
Okay.
Wow.
Sorry, Andrew. What did you say?
I said the tension dips in the middle, and I wrote in the notes they'll probably lose younger audiences who have no attention span and will be looking at their phones for the entire thing.
Okay. Very
I
accurate.
disagree with the statement.
Did you have your phone in your hand?
No.
Okay.
I don't have my phone in my hand watching movies, Matthew, because I'm taking notes.
Let's hear from Will.
Okay.
I
so you just
gotta
have
get
bad
this
taste.
out. All right.
Get it
As
out.
far as all the cultural and artistic impact that Matthew is referring to, I could tell watching this movie that it had that. It had a message. It had a very strong, the Soviet, the defecting. Oh my God, he was terrified to land in Russia. He was ripping up passports. Like, you could tell there was a lot at stake. There was art and politics and fighting for your freedom. All that message came shining through, and I respected the hell out of it. As far as a movie goes, absolute dog shit. Absolute fucking garbage. Like, I did not care to sit through an 8-minute ballet opening sequence. I wanted, like Nicole said, 10-minute, first hour. It should have been way more reduced. I was bored. I was waiting for it to be over. But as far as the themes go, I think they nailed it. I did feel a lot of that shining through. You could tell it was an artist fighting for his freedom to be himself and everything, all that. But I just was like, thing. Oh my God, 2 hours 17, like.
That's too long for any movie. But I love art.
Not necessarily.
I love art. I love a slow movie every once in a while, but this one, it has to be entertaining still. Like, genuinely, the second half was good, but by that point, I was so drained from the first half.
Well, I think you said it well, Nicole, but I would say the second half had good bones, like an interesting story that could have been there. But I don't actually think it was well executed, and I got lots to say about that. Mm-hmm. Well, okay, so just a few things on this. And Matthew, we're not tearing apart the movie that you like. We're just having some fun here. But you can see we do have very different tastes on...
Oh, yeah. You're at opposite ends of the spectrum.
My first question was this, is why did the second character have to be a dancer? And maybe, Matthew, you can tell me this, because I was trying to think what would have made this movie better, and I thought... they were just sharing the experience of being, by the way, I've learned the word is defector and not defecator. I may have mixed that up on occasion. They were sharing the experience of being defectors and wanting to get back out again. I don't see why they had to both be dancers. Like, I was wondering, wouldn't it have been more fun if the second guy was like a fighter or some other kind of artist?
Because it's clearly stated in the movie, you didn't pay attention. So Baryshnikov is doing high art that rich white people watch, and he defected from Russia to the United States. Gregory Hines is doing black art, right? Which he didn't feel was appreciated. So I think actually that the whole point is one person leaving one country for a reason, the other person leaving the other country for a reason, and it's that mix and they needed to have two artists doing that because it was a view on acceptance and what you are and how you're seen and what you're allowed to do and not allowed to do. But I mean, I think Gregory Hines, though, character is quite stupid, thinking that the Russia would be even better. But it's a big statement about black life in America back then as well.
I agree with all that.
That did make sense, yeah.
That was what I was thinking as well.
But didn't he murder somebody too? Did he say that?
No. So
well, he was a soldier.
Yeah, essentially, it seems like he was in communications or something. So it feels like it was about targeted bombs and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I thought he said he murdered somebody. My bad.
Yeah, I couldn't figure out why Ray left the U.S. I was wondering if he was a draft dodger.
He was drafted and then he left.
AWOL.
Yeah. But he said nobody said you're going to become a murderer. Nobody said you're going to become a rapist, which I have to say, that one's up to you. The murder, you have to do that, but that second one's up to you.
What war do you think he was referring to? Like the Vietnam War, probably?
America's always doing that shit somewhere, so who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it was a specific one because he was like in the States still.
Like what era was this movie supposed to be based in? The time it was made or a different time?
No, this was like 1984, yeah.
And it was meant to be 84? Like middle of the Cold War?
Yep. I mean, this is what was going on there. And, I mean, they legitimately made Siberia look bleak. Like, I don't think there's anybody that says, I want to go to Siberia because it's so lovely, but it did look terribly bleak.
I will
They did a
shout
good
out
job with that.
the director. I like some of the shots. There were some like really beautiful shots.
There were good
cinematography,
shots.
Especially in Siberia when he's showing him the mine and he's just standing behind this vast, gaping. I was like, that's kind of beautiful. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, it was beautiful other than the bad green screen.
Yeah.
Well,
that's as good as it got in the 80s.
That was the best screen.
Oh, it was better than the one in the car. The one in the car was you couldn't just put a car on a road? Why did you have to do that?
Yeah, it's they actually did a second unit in Russia. They like slipped people in to do some of the big scenes, I think. But the what's now the Mariinsky Theater, the theater they're supposed to be in St. Petersburg, that's actually the Helsinki Opera. So they couldn't obviously shoot in Russia because he had defected.
Yeah,
and it was the Soviet Union at the time. So
he probably couldn't go back there.
No, absolutely not. And they wouldn't allow people to really film. They wouldn't have told them what they were filming when they filmed the scenes in Russia either, right? The background scenes, yeah.
So how do Russians feel about this movie? They're probably not great. Makes them look pretty bad. Makes them look like losers.
Well, at the time, I imagine they probably didn't like it.
Well, Russian artists probably like this film, yeah.
So, Matthew, why would Ray want to defect to the USSR? It doesn't seem like he made a smart move.
Yeah, all the places. Why choose there?
I turned to Justin. I said, what's really interesting when I moved to Russia is you have all these murals of workers of the world united. You have white people and black people and Asian people with, their arms up, very Soviet propagandistic. And the whole communist ideal was brotherhood and equality. But from my experience in Russia, they're on the street terribly racist, right? So he bought into this idea of equality and then realized it's the dictatorship and it's not really communism. It's a Soviet state, right? So. Right.
Well, one thing they depicted well is his like, oh shit, I made a mistake kind of attitude.
He certainly did.
Can I say I'm jumping ahead a little bit for worst parts of the movie? For me, one of the worst parts, Gregory Hines. I've seen this guy twice now. Stick to dancing, my man. You don't have it.
No, don't stick to dancing.
He's not an actor.
Don't do either.
I find him tremendously upsetting when he's on screen.
Can I just say?
I love Gregory Hines.
Can I just say, my mom said Gregory Hines' tap dancing looked like Opa tap dancing.
Well, that's...
Okay, Will, I had written on my notes here a question. This or Running Scared, which would you rather watch?
I think Running Scared was shorter. I mean, probably
nothing
Running
happened
Scared.
in either one.
And then
Yeah.
I have in my worst, I know this is a tangent, but in my worst, I have the Gregory Hines show. He had his own sitcom in 1997, and I went back and watched an episode to see how he is at comedy. Oof. It is not good.
Again, like I thought, he seems like a dancer who moved over. Like the Mikhail main character guy, he was clearly a dancer who became an actor, who got into acting, correct?
Yeah, and he didn't do a lot of roles. The only other thing, he did a couple of movies, but the only other thing he really did was Sex and the City.
Hey, Jess actually mentioned that when I was watching it. That's so funny. But I actually did enjoy his acting. I thought he did a good job. And I was saying to Jess, I was like, I wonder if he was a dancer who became an actor or an actor who learned how to dance.
He did have good character
He was great at
development.
both. I thought he was like, he played the scared defector role to a T. I just don't care for Hines. I don't know. He just bums me out. His facial expressions, I don't know. Something
He
about
does
him.
have a sad face.
Yeah, he's just a dope. I don't know. Sorry.
But anyway, so right at the start, that plane crash. Anyone else shocked that anyone died in the world's most gentle plane crash that's ever existed?
I wouldn't call it that gentle. Their wing ripped off, but
Did you see how lightly they tapped on the ground, like beep?
I actually
And
thought
then-
it was a pretty cool action sequence for the movie as a whole.
Yeah,
But,
I was hoping it was going to take kind of a Con Air turn, but it didn't.
yeah.
If we could combine the movie Con Air and this movie, the two scripts, this would be an excellent movie.
No.
We need Nick Cage, and he would have fixed this. That's what we needed. Instead of Gregory Hines, if we had Nicolas Cage, this would have been awesome.
I
don't know about that.
Well, I have a couple questions for Matthew. So, Matthew, is there a better ballet movie or tap movie than this, or is this the best?
This is the best.
What about Black Swan?
No, this is better.
Okay. Second question for Matthew. Is this the best Russian movie ever?
No, I don't.
I
it
have
was
one I
better
like
than
better.
Red Heat.
Do you mean like the best actual Russian movie made?
Not Russian made, movie about Russia. So mine, I would vote for Moscow on the Hudson. I think that was a good one.
I'm trying to think of other Russian movies.
The best movie about Russia is called Burnt by the Sun, and it's actually a Russian movie.
And then, Nicole, what do you think about, as dance movies go, what do you think about this on the scale of like Saturday Night Fever, Flashdance, Footloose, Dirty Dancing?
Okay, well, nothing can compete with Dirty Dancing for me. But out of those ones, I've only seen Dirty Dancing and Footloose. And I probably liked this, as far as a dancing movie, liked it more than Footloose, but only because I liked the dancing in this one. My favorite scene was the one where they are dancing together. I watched that one twice because I liked it so much. I liked that dancing. It was a really interesting dichotomy, seeing how different their two dance trainings made them dance. Because the ballet dancer was, like, you could see clearly in all of his dance moves that he was a ballet dancer, just the smooth way that he moved. Whereas the other guy was more jerky, like clearly he has a different kind of dance training. It was very interesting.
Well, I do have in best parts, not to jump the queue here, but I do have in best parts the karate dance. So for me, the only point where the dancing got good is when they started putting in some karate moves, and I thought, yeah, these guys would be good martial artists.
I want to say, I want to shout out Matthew's sign. I'll let you get to it. Hold on, Matthew. I want to say, for the dancing, watching the dancing sequences, I was thinking in my head, I was like, I am such uncultured swine. Like, I'm not appreciating this like it probably should be. This is very clearly like world-class dancing. Like the opening sequence, the ballet, I didn't care for the tap dancing, but all the ballet, like he was clearly a world-class performer. You could tell that was shining through the screen. But just as far as like what that did for the movie, I just thought it like took away from the movie. I would rather go watch this in a live performance. I did not care to like sit through all these sequences of them dancing. Like, I don't know. They were amazing, but just like what it did for the movie for me, I was like, eh. But
I
yeah,
love
sorry.
dance, so I did like all the dancing. I did not need it to open with 10 minutes of silent ballet. But other than that, I liked the dancing.
But Baryshnikov is amazing. The one scene that I thought was phenomenal is 11 pirouettes for 11 rubles, which is the equivalent of $50. Like 11 pirouettes in a row? How can a human do that?
Well, I liked his sassy little dancing after that.
Okay, well, let's talk about the second half of the movie a little bit, because I thought, okay, interesting story here. The whole defection thing and trying to get out is an interesting story, but I got a little bit confused. First of all, why did he break out of the building to go back into the building, Matthew?
Which time?
He jumped out the window, climbed down the ladder, and then he went back in the building up the stairs. I didn't understand that at all.
He realized he couldn't get out.
Was that when they were blocking the other exit? Like when they did the rope escape, the big escape at the end?
He just realized he couldn't get out. And what he was actually doing, he was trying to let other people in the building know that he was in Russia. So he's talking to those young girls, saying, hey, make sure they know it was me. He said his name a bunch of times. What he was trying to do was get the word out. He wasn't actually trying to escape, actually, now that I think of it. He was trying to get the word out that he was there. And that was the first time he realized that he would have been a cultural hero in the Soviet Union, but he suddenly realized that the young dancers who should be idolizing him don't even know who he is, because he was scrubbed from Soviet history.
I really liked that escape at the end when they were in the car and they got pulled over and they were like, just get out, just let everyone see you, make sure everyone sees you. Because the whole point was that they just wanted him to be seen so that they had evidence to do a rescue.
You know what I think would have made this movie a lot better is if it just... Have you guys seen Argo?
Yeah.
You know, the hostage Iran crisis, like Argo, they get them out with this whole movie scheme. I feel like if they added more of that kind of like thriller escape vibe to it, rather than like this, I don't know, it was just so bleak and sad the whole time until like the end, and then I was like, okay, they got out. Like, if it was more intense, like if there was more at stake, I feel like I would have been more invested, but I don't know.
Yeah. One of my favorite parts also was Raymond and Dario's relationship. It was very cute, very sweet, made me happy to see.
Yeah, that was good. I had for good parts young Helen Mirren. I mean, it was kind of nice to see her pop up in a movie earlier in her career.
Small role. She was barely in it.
I didn't even know it was her.
Yeah. And did you guys know that she's half Russian?
Oh, I can see that.
Doesn't surprise me.
I was initially getting annoyed at the movie. Like, why do you have all of these American actors playing Russians? Like, why is Helen Mirren playing a Russian? And then I read that she's half Russian, and so it sort of makes sense.
There you go.
The other good part I had is I said drunk tap dancing. I like drunk tap dancing.
Yeah, I know you do.
Okay, Matthew, you want to pop in any other best parts? I know you love the whole movie, but anything in particular?
Yeah, well, Helen Mirren's real name is Helen Mironov, just so you know.
Okay.
Yeah, so she was half Russian. Do you want to talk about best scenes?
Well, what is your favorite part in this movie? If you had to go back and rewatch 5 minutes, what would it be?
My favorite part is when he is in the Kirov Theater with Helen Mirren's character, and he's showing her contemporary dance, and she starts crying. Because I think if you know his history, right? It's so layered. So she's upset. You know, she's seeing this contemporary dance that he's doing, that he was allowed to do, and she's crying for that, right? And you know, that dance is like a symbol of defiance. He's showing, you know, what you can't do in the Soviet Union, and he also stated that Baryshnikov stated that it was a great personal cost that he left. Like, he left family and he left friends, and she's also seeing, you know, their relationship was gone because he had left. So to me, that's really touching, and I think Helen Mirren's character, Galina, you know, great character, because she's not a villain. She's like this person trapped in a system that punishes defection and betrayal, right? And there's like emotional weight to the film because of that. So that's my absolute favorite scene.
I really like that scene as well, but that reminds me of my section in my notes today titled Best Dance Moves. I liked the weird little bunny hop he did across the stage on his tippy toes. That made me laugh quite a bit. And I also liked the move where he ran and jumped and face planted and then just laid face down on the ground for a minute. I feel that.
Yeah. Yep. That was good.
You know, it's really funny. Like I turn to Justin each time, and I'm like, even with the tap dancing, right, or with the ballet, I'm like, if you don't think that's hard, stand up and try to do it. Right?
Oh, yeah.
It's like
It's
very
hard.
difficult stuff, right?
He was doing stuff that I could only ever dream of doing as like an athlete. Like he was walking around handstand. He was
When he
like,
puts his leg up and he's stretching, it's like, holy crap.
oh yeah, like right up against the wall. He was like
Yeah,
right with
yeah.
his ankle. Yeah, you know, he was tremendous. He was absolutely tremendous.
And if you know ballet, when he's doing that scene, like what he's doing is so Twyla Tharp, right? Like if you follow dance, like you actually can notice. You actually get to know just by the moves. You get to know choreographers. I'm like, that's so Twyla Tharp. And then I like Google, did Twyla Tharp work on this?
Oh, you stole my line, Matthew. I was just going to say that.
Olen's still reeling. He didn't know it was called ballet. He thought it was ballet.
Classic.
And defecation. The ballet dancer defecating from Russia.
Going back to my favorite scene, which was when the ballet dancer was doing Ray's dance. I really liked, because it's just the whole time you could clearly see he's a trained ballet dancer, because he was doing like karate kicks but with pointed toes.
I
Like,
appreciated that.
I loved that.
Yeah.
It's just so interesting to watch. They had good dichotomy.
I also love that you know right and wrong pointing of toes in a karate kick. That's awesome.
Nice.
You
Okay.
can tell ballet dancers by the way that they stand and walk. They actually they stand with their feet sort of pointing outwards. It's really interesting because they've trained so much that's how their feet naturally land when they're standing.
I do that, but I'm not a ballet dancer.
And plie.
Worst parts. I'm going to start this off with the guy that has to search the shit around their airplane. Matthew, would they really go through that to that degree?
The KGB absolutely would have. Absolutely.
Oh
would
my
have.
Yeah.
god. Well, the poor entry-level KGB guy on his first day on the job getting that assignment. Not cool.
Yeah. My worst part was that the ending felt very rushed considering how long the movie was. It was like 2 hours of setup and then they were like, oh my god, we have to end it right now.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, my worst parts, I'm going to go length of the movie. Like, they should have edited it a lot. Just like the Cold War, it went on way too long. But other worst parts, probably Gregory Hines for me. Hated him. Let's not do another Gregory Hines movie on the podcast, please.
Let's do another Gregory Hines movie.
I didn't like him in the last movie we saw him in, but I didn't mind him in this. Mostly because I liked his relationship, and I liked seeing a healthy relationship with a supportive man in an 80s movie, because that's pretty rare. So that made me very happy to see.
I just don't think he's a good actor. He's just
Well,
a
he was-
bug-eyed dancer.
He was in History of the World by Mel Brooks.
Yeah, he was good in that.
The Cotton Club, he was in Waiting to Exhale, Running Scared. He's in a lot of good movies.
Well, I'm gonna
Do
give.
you think Running Scared was a good
No.
movie? I don't
No.
remember that.
No, the other ones I meant.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you for correcting me.
Because we're all talking about Running Scared being bad.
Yeah, no, like I threw that in. I had the list of the movies he's in. I'm like, yeah, no, that one.
Okay, so for favorite lines, I've got in Russia, when we open a bottle, we drink it.
It's true.
Like that?
Feel like
So
that happens a
if
lot
you
of
go
places.
I go to a Russian's house. What they do is they open the vodka is room temperature. They open it. They crush the cap to say the cap's not going back on. You need to drink the bottle.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
Yeah, that is culturally true. Yep.
Matthew, do you like just straight vodka?
I don't drink anymore, but I used to. Yes. Too much. That's why I don't drink anymore.
Straight vodka would be so tough. Especially a whole bottle.
Well, yeah.
I drank straight vodka when I was in Finland They like to do just straight vodka, and it's actually very good vodka, so it's nice. I'm not sure it's my go-to drink, but in the right
even
situation.
most spirits that I enjoy, I would never drink like neat like that, like no ice cube. You know, like I like whiskey, but I would never do it neat. I like a
What about tequila?
tequila. I always thought was like a shooter, or you do put it in margaritas. But then I was at a party once, and this guy had sippy tequila, like really high end, nice tequila, and he poured me that neat. But I think it was cold, and I really enjoyed that. So like really high end stuff. But I don't think the Russians are buying like. Is there even nice vodka? Like it's just potatoes fermented, isn't it? Like it's just...
Oh, that would have been cheap shit.
But that's all vodka is. But yet Russia actually has some good vodka. There was some bad vodka, but what you would do is you would check the number on the back of the inside of the label, and you learned which vodka factory it was from, because it was different locations actually made better or worse vodka.
Oh, okay. I got
Yeah,
you.
isn't that cool?
That is, yeah.
Yeah.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
I would love to drink with some Russians. I think that would be a fun experience.
It is.
Yeah,
It is.
It would be. I think that would be fun. And then, Will, you can do your drunk tap dancing.
I want to see a drunk tap off between you three.
I definitely think
No.
I can pull it off.
Matthew, do you think you could beat my dad in a tap dancing contest?
No, I can't. I cannot dance. I think Olen would be better at it.
Thank you.
Wow.
Thank you,
I
Matthew.
never thought I'd hear those words come out of your mouth.
My mother was a tap dancer.
Oh, wow.
And you didn't pick up anything?
No.
Fair enough. My dad's a karate man and I haven't picked up anything.
You have. You know which way to point your toes. You know the difference between a ballet karate kick and an actual karate kick. I'm very proud.
I did lecture my whole class on soft targets the other day, actually.
Oh, good.
And all of them were like, you need to shut up. You're talking nonsense.
You may have saved someone's life.
Well, they're not going to listen to me.
Speaking of soft targets, this week I was snuggling with my husband on the sofa, and I jokingly said, "What would you do if I gave you a hickey?" And he turns to me and says, "I would punch you in the non-prostate." Like, totally brutal.
Wow.
Wow.
Well, he set a clear boundary. I think you have to.
He certainly did.
That's why I like Justin. Okay, Nicole and Will, do you think there's any way this movie was successful in the theater? A dance-based action film in the 80s.
What do
No.
we talk? What does successful mean? Like double its budget back, or like money wise, or?
I'm going to tell you how it did at the box office in a second. I'm just curious generally if you think this was going to be a hit or not.
I think it probably did fine. It probably like maybe doubled its money back. But I think it was slightly profitable, maybe.
Well, according to Box Office Mojo Worldwide, White Knights was the 17th highest earning movie at the box office. Out of Africa was the leader at the box office in 1985, and this film was beat by two older Pure Gold favorites, Cocoon, Witness, and Goonies. But it shouldn't be ashamed of its position because it beat Pale Rider, St. Elmo's Fire, Commando, Teen Wolf, and Silverado. Out of Africa was the Best Picture winner this year, and I'd rather watch White Knights. And Will, you were very close on the budget. I heard your guess there, double. The budget was $20 million, and this did 42.
Well, there you go. Okay.
But
Good
I,
job.
$20 million budget for what?
I got no idea.
What did they spend that on?
All those green screens.
Probably the plane crash, honestly.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
Nothing
So,
like a slowly tipping plane.
Yeah, the big exploding plane was pretty well done, and I think they did lots of locations, right?
I agree with that. I thought that was a good sequence, actually.
Especially for the 80s, right? That wasn't bad.
Yeah.
You know?
I want to jump back. One thing I actually did kind of like about the plane crash was how it was all calm and quiet, and then she opened the door to the cockpit, and it was like chaos.
That
There were
was funny.
fires, and everyone was
And she's like, "Oh my
yelling.
god!"
I did like that.
That was
great.
great.
That was good.
great.
I forgot about that until you mentioned it, but I liked that.
I also had on Best Parts business class in the 80s. Like, no longer do you have a 2-floor business class with a spiral staircase. That was awesome.
I would love a spiral staircase. I love a spiral staircase anywhere. For
Okay.
the longest time when I was a kid, I wanted to live in a lighthouse just so I could have a spiral staircase.
It's still possible. Dream big, Nicole.
I love your version. I like how you interpret best parts of a film, Olen.
Well, some movies I have to struggle to find best parts, and karate dancing, drunk tap dancing, and business class was all I could come up with in this movie.
It's the simple things in life for him.
Yeah, they are the simple things.
I mean, look, in Bachelor Party, I had to force you guys to come up with best parts, right?
There were none.
That is not true.
The best part was that it ended.
There was a donkey in that movie. How dare you?
I would also, because I didn't realize we were moving on, I have one quote that I liked that I would like to mention.
Please.
My only quote that I wrote down, which is a shocker for me. I won't whisper what I feel. I want to scream. I liked that because that felt very like, I felt that for a lot of things. That feels very accurate to today. Yeah. Like I feel that about LGBT rights and all that sort of stuff. Like it really hit home with me.
Nicely said.
My favorite lines were, "I'm not a criminal, I'm a dancer." That was Kolya delivering the line when he was talking about his defection. And when Colonel Chaiko said, "You don't understand, Mr. Rodchenko, you are property of the state."
Matthew, I would have thought you would have picked up to the line, "I am Russian, I'm just not Soviet."
Yeah, that's important, right? That's important.
I felt like it was important, although I didn't get it.
It is. Russia is homeland, right? And history, and Soviet is political ideology.
Okay, well, sorry for skipping around a little bit, listeners, but let's get back on the critics.
I apologize. I'm quite out of it today. I am very sick, but I am trying my best.
Well, you're a trooper for showing up. Rotten Tomato score? Critics and audience, do you think critics liked it? Do you think audience liked it? What do you think the score is?
Oh, critics probably freaking loved this movie. Anybody who is cultured and understands art probably loved it. I would say critics 70 and audience, I'm going to go 75.
Nicole?
I'm going to say...
Matthew.
Sorry. Go, Nicole.
No, I need a minute.
I'd say critics 70, audience 50, because the young'uns can't sit through a movie.
I agree. 70-50.
Okay, you guys are going to be...
70-40.
Okay.
70,
I think audiences liked it less.
70-40. Okay, critics, 46% of critics liked this movie.
Wow.
Whoa.
And well done on the audience. Audience was 74, so you were just one off. So the audience likes better than critics. And
so it's totally flipped to what I thought, right? Like
it's completely flipped to what you got. So Will, you win this week with a 25. Matthew, you had a 48, and Nicole, you were a 58.
Bang bang. That's
Shouldn't have
awesome.
changed
I'm 2
it.
for 2.
Okay, a little bit of movie trivia. So, Mikhail Baryshnikov was insistent that only grammatically correct Russian be spoken in this movie instead of the nonsensical hybrid often used in American movies. Matthew, I think you've made that point before.
I feel like that's what they should do.
I respect the hell out of that. I've heard that that is a giant problem with not just Russian, but all languages. Like, they kind of barely find someone to do the job of translating the script or whatever. And then the people they hire for the actors are usually like, people just doing terrible versions.
Yeah, I never like it in the 80s movies when they get just Americans to play foreigners, because there's great actors in every country. And Matthew, you already told us the true story of Baryshnikov, which I think is fascinating, when he came to Toronto, and that he was actually had KGB handlers and he had to slip out. So that's pretty cool. And I read this, I wasn't able to verify it, but the high concept for the casting of this movie was centered around pairing the #1 ballet dancer and the world's top tap dancer together in a movie. Mm-hmm. But Gregory Hines was not the first pick. Do you know who was?
No.
Someone way better.
Sammy Davis Jr.
Oh, wow.
Interesting.
Yep. And Will, Jess already told you that Mikhail Baryshnikov later played the Russian character in the final season of Sex and the City.
Right, correct.
woke or joke, I'd love to hear what you guys think that may not have aged well, but some trivia that I read. There was a love scene between Gregory Hines and Isabella Rossellini.
Baryshnikov? Oh, okay. Yeah.
Nope. There was a love scene between Gregory Hines and Isabella Rossellini, and they cut it from the movie after poor testing in the south of the U.S.
Of course.
Oh, they didn't like the black on white.
Nope.
And proof point of the whole part of the film about why Gregory Hines was leaving the United States.
Yeah. I really liked that the ballet dancer was so on the opposite end. Like, he wasn't racist at all. So much so that he played the racist bit to get his wife back and
Yeah,
then was like, can't believe he fell for the racist bit, that idiot.
And I
love
love
that.
I love that Baryshnikov was like teasing out that N word from the Russian.
Yeah.
Right? He didn't say it, so he's playing the part, but he wouldn't say it, and he like teased it out and let the guy get there himself. That was awesome.
Yeah, I like that he didn't say it, because
Yeah.
I have no respect for anyone who says it in any context.
Well, they did say it in the movie.
I know.
Yeah.
But none of the people
The
we were
bad guy
supposed to
said
like
it.
said
The-
it.
The bad guy said it, yeah.
it.
As it should be, yeah.
I mean, I still didn't like hearing it, but
No, it's a jarring
I
word.
know that
Yeah.
it was from the bad guy, at least.
It's a jarring word, and it makes the bad guy an obvious bad guy.
Yeah. It was, if you're going to use it, it was used in the right way for the right effect in this movie.
Yeah.
Well, however you guys felt about this movie, I promise you there's others who liked it more or less than you. So, Matthew, there were 54 total reviews and 17 of them were 10 stars. So a third of the people. Much higher than I expected. So, Baryshnikov is one of the best male dancers of all time. You can't help but watch in awe at his amazing athletic and physical feats. This is dancing eye candy at its finest. My favorite escape movie of all time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Someone else says, if you haven't seen White Nights or haven't seen it more than once, you're denying yourself an unearthly pleasure.
True.
I did not get that.
No surprise. No surprise.
And then last one, over the past few years, the movie has become one of my favorites, going out of my way to watch it whenever I see it advertised. I first saw it in 1995 and fell in love with it immediately. Shocking, since I'm not much of a dance fan, but the dancing amazed me. I'm a strong believer that the end of a movie has a lot to do with the movie's success, and this movie has one of the best endings I've ever seen. Strong words. So now we hear from people who liked it less, and there was only one-star review. So the fans outweigh the haters on this one.
You know what? You know what I think that is, Olen? I
Yeah.
think if you're gonna watch this movie, if you're not forced to watch it for a podcast, if you're gonna watch this movie, something has attracted you to it. So people who would give lots of 1 stars probably wouldn't even pick it up. You know what I mean?
This is why I'm trying to understand why me at 14 years old looked at this, knew full well what it was, and said, yeah, I'm taking a bus ride and spending $5.
I can tell you what it was, Olen.
Yeah.
We all loved over because of the whole Cold War, and you and I grew up in the height of it, right?
Yep.
Any Cold War movie where the Russians are bad guys, we flocked to.
Yeah, and you know, my recollection of this film is that the dance scenes were cool, like the mix of ballet and tap dance was cool. It, a little less impressive to me watching it this time 40 years later, but
Did you like it? Did you like Isabella Rossellini back then?
oh, I adore her. I adore her. This was her first movie, so I know her
so-
more from later roles. I adore her. She's great.
She's so good, and she's a nepo baby, but I think she did her own thing and made her own life. Yeah.
I don't think this is her first role, so she did just fine, but I don't think they really pulled out the true talent of Isabella Rossellini in this movie. I think she's done some great movies.
Do you know who her parents were?
No.
Her mother was Ingrid Bergman.
Oh.
Yeah, and her father was Rossellini, an Italian film director, Roberto Rossellini.
Amazing.
Yeah, Ingrid Bergman was her mother. How cool is that?
Well, Matthew, I'd like to read you the one-star review and just get your thoughts on it. So this reviewer describes White Nights as a Reagan-esque propaganda, another dehumanization of the USSR, another contrived plot that has nothing in common with reality. If an artist defected, they would not try to pull him back. This would be beneath them. Besides, he's not a government worker or a military officer. He does not have any secrets. that they would want him to keep quiet about this so-called art done for the benefit of Reagan propaganda.
So who wrote that? Putin?
I don't know.
Yeah,
It
it
was
sounds like a Russian bot.
And first of all, that's completely untrue. So artists were ballet, especially in Russia. Ballet is the Russian art. It's a high art form, and the Russians do it the best. And they would have been very interested in forcing this guy back. That person that knows nothing about Russia, and
Okay.
and Reagan-esque bullshit. The whole Gregory Hines part of that story is so not Reagan-esque. It's throwing racism, the truth of racism, in the face of America. That person's just a moron.
okay. Well said.
Yeah, I kind of agree.
Yeah.
So I always like to check in with Siskel and Ebert. I'm always interested to hear what they think about these movies. So Ebert said that the dancing was good, but he hated the new wave jazz music, as he called it. And he said the thriller part of this failed.
I liked the music, but I also wouldn't class it as a thriller.
Siskel said that the dancing was spectacular and the thriller part was ridiculous, but he still enjoyed it. Ebert said it would have been better as a dance comedy movie.
Oh Jesus.
That part made me laugh. So Ebert
That
thumbs
is
down,
funny.
Siskel
That
thumbs
is
up.
funny. That's actually really funny.
Okay, does this movie deserve a remake, prequel, or sequel?
No.
Okay.
It wouldn't
so,
work today.
So
Well, yeah.
I totally geeked out on this, guys, because I was like, okay, like, who, like, if you did this, you'd have to have like one of the best dancers, and you have you have like, so Gregory Hines. So there's a dancer called Savion Glover he's probably the best tap dancer of his generation, but he was born in 73, so he's probably a little bit old for the role, right? And you have Isabella Rossellini and Helen Mirren. Like, they can't do this because they're too old. Maybe Isabella Rossellini could, her maybe Marion Cotillard, I think she was in Inception and in La Vie en Rose. She could be good, but in terms of Baryshnikov, right? Sergei Polinin is like the bad boy of dance. He's Ukrainian, but he got a massive tattoo of Putin's face on his chest and moved to Russia. He's now left again, so I don't think politically it would work. I think you don't have the artists to play this film right now. I don't think you like to be as great as it was. You don't have the artist to do it.
By the way, I forgot to mention this movie did win an Oscar for Best Song, and it was nominated for 2 Best Song Oscars, but that's all it got.
I know it won an Oscar because I didn't like it.
Yeah, Lionel Richie.
Yeah, that Lionel Richie song is the only bad part of the movie.
Well, the Phil Collins one isn't a lot better.
No.
Stop it and restart it. And then
I mean, neither of them really fit with this movie.
No, it's weird, isn't it?
Interesting.
Yeah.
I really liked the friendship bond that was formed. They had good relationships in this movies, and I liked that the character development and the friendships that were formed, because by the end he was like, I'm not leaving without them. Like,
Yeah.
you try and rescue me, I won't go without them, which I liked.
Yep.
It was so much better than I remembered.
Well, I'm glad, Matthew. Like I said, I try to get a whole range of movies for this podcast, and happy to do one that you enjoyed.
Yeah, and we'll have different audiences out there that agree with you or agree with me or agree with Will or
Totally.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know about that last one.
I barely agree with myself. I don't know what's going on.
No, Nicole and Will, I think you brought a good perspective to this, and I do love exploring whether things age well or not. I like exploring whether it ages well or not for myself. Like I said, I saw this movie in the theater when I was 14. I swear I liked it at the time. I don't know what's changed for me, but I didn't enjoy it this time. Let's wrap this up. Is this movie too old or pure gold? Matthew.
pure gold.
Will.
I don't want to say too old. I'm just going to say it's old. It's old gold.
I think as it is, it's too old, but I think with a modern edit where they cut out a lot of the unnecessary things at the beginning and make it a little bit tighter, I think it could be gold.
Yeah, they didn't really have the hang of editing in the 80s. They did run movies a little bit long. I agree it could be tightened up and maybe a little bit better. I'm going to call it too old, but the karate dance is not too old. That is gold.
I disagree what you just said about editing in the 80s. I think we had the ability to watch scenes that were longer where not a lot happened.
Oh, I could watch scenes that are longer, but they have to be entertaining.
Even my attention span has been chopped down because of social media and contemporary editing in films for second screen watchers, as they call them.
I disagree with the statement just because I have a good attention span. I literally watch 12-hour court videos just listening to facts about cases. So it's not my attention span. It's that the scenes were unnecessary. They weren't important details, and it was too long. So if they were all like important details that added to it, then I would say go for it. Be a long movie. But it was not that. It had unnecessary parts.
I agree with Matthew. My attention span is absolute dog shit. I can't hang on for much longer than a couple seconds.
I've literally realized that my attention span is shortened so much because of the media that I use that I'm like, I need to read more. So I started reading graphic novels first, right? And then short stories, and I moved up to novels again. My attention span got so bad.
It's a good way to build up to reading, actually. I do recommend that way for people who are trying to get back into it.
I've been trying to read more too.
Yeah.
Well, good flick, you guys.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys doing this one. They can't all be unanimously golds. And on this one, audience, we would love to hear from you. So send us a few comments. Let us know what you thought about this movie, because it's an interesting one to discuss.
Hit us up.
See you guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.